Edmund I was King of England from 939 until his death in 946. Edmund inherited a kingdom that had been unified by his father and faced the ongoing threat of Viking invasions and internal divisions. Edmund's reign was critical in maintaining and consolidating the Anglo-Saxon state in the face of formidable challenges. Edmund was born around 921, the second son of King Aethelstan, and a woman whose name has been lost to history. His older brother, Elfweard, died in 924, just months after Aethelstan's death, which made Edmund the heir to the throne. Upon the death of Aethelstan, Edmund ascended to the throne at a young age, around the age of 18. Edmund's early years were likely marked by his tutelage in the ways of kingship under the influence of his father's legacy and the tumultuous period following Aethelstan's unification of England. Edmund inherited a kingdom that was larger and more unified than any that had existed before it. His father's victory at the Battle of Brunanburh in 937 had solidified his authority over all of England, including the northern territories previously dominated by the Vikings. However, this unity was fragile, and Edmund's reign would be marked by continued struggles with both Viking invasions and internal divisions within the Anglo-Saxon nobility. One of the central challenges Edmund faced during his reign was the ongoing Viking threat. Although his father had successfully defeated many Viking armies and established control over much of the Danelaw, parts of northern England were still subject to Viking rule or influence. The kingdom of Northumbria, in particular, was an area of contention, as it had been a target for Viking incursions since the 9th century. The Vikings, having established a powerful presence in the north, maintained control over parts of the Danelaw and continued to challenge the authority of the Anglo-Saxon kings. After Aethelstan's death, the north became increasingly destabilized as the Vikings sought to reclaim their former strongholds. Edmund's first major military challenge as king came in the form of a series of Viking raids and incursions from York, which was at this time a major Viking stronghold. In 940, Edmund faced a Viking army that had crossed the border into England from Dublin. This Viking force sought to reclaim parts of the northern kingdom, including Northumbria. Edmund's response was decisive, as he led a campaign to drive the Vikings back into the north. The campaign was largely successful, although it did not fully expel the Vikings from the region. The situation in Northumbria remained volatile for much of Edmund's reign, with Viking forces continuing to press their claims over northern England. Despite these military successes, Edmund's reign was marked by a continuing struggle for control over the north. Although he was able to maintain some level of Anglo-Saxon authority in the region, the Vikings remained a significant threat throughout his reign. This instability in the north would be one of the defining features of Edmund's kingship, and the region's eventual pacification would fall to his successor, Eadred. In addition to external threats, Edmund's reign was also plagued by internal divisions within England, particularly within the Anglo-Saxon nobility. The kingdom had not yet fully integrated all the territories of the Danelaw, and tensions between the Anglo-Saxon and Viking settlers were still present. Mercia, in particular, remained a powerful and sometimes independent kingdom within the larger framework of England. Edmund's reign was complicated by the rise of rival factions, particularly in Mercia. The kingdom of Mercia had once been one of the most powerful Anglo-Saxon kingdoms before the Viking invasions. After the death of Aethelstan, the political landscape in Mercia became increasingly divided, with local rulers seeking to assert their own autonomy. Edmund was forced to contend with these power struggles, especially with the kingdom of Mercia, which was not fully under his control. In 942, Edmund made a significant political move by officially bringing the Kingdom of Mercia into his rule. He installed his brother, the young Edred, as King of Mercia, effectively bringing the region under direct Anglo-Saxon control. However, this decision was not without controversy. Some of the local Mercian nobility resisted Edmund's influence and sought to maintain a degree of independence. The political and cultural differences between Wessex and Mercia remained an ongoing challenge for Edmund, and his attempt to bring about a more centralized rule over the Kingdom of England was met with resistance from these regional factions. While his reign was marked by external conflict and internal power struggles, Edmund also sought to strengthen the governance of England through legal and administrative reforms. Edmund's efforts in this area were not as extensive as those of his father, Aethelstan, but they were nonetheless important in consolidating the kingdom's structure. One of the key reforms of Edmund's reign was his focus on ensuring the safety of the kingdom through the maintenance of a strong system of law. Edmund issued several law codes during his reign, some of which sought to reaffirm the laws and customs of Wessex while extending them to the newly integrated territories of Mercia and Northumbria. These laws focused on protecting the rights of subjects and curbing crime, including measures against the Viking settlers who had been accused of raiding and pillaging in the north. In addition to legal reforms, Edmund also worked to strengthen the monetary system of England. Like his father, Aethelstan, Edmund sought to regulate coinage to ensure that it was accepted throughout the kingdom. Edmund's efforts in standardizing currency were crucial in maintaining trade and economic stability in the newly unified England. Edmund's reign came to an abrupt end in 946, when he was assassinated while attending a banquet at Pucklechurch, Gloucestershire. The assassin, Leofa, a disgruntled member of the royal household, killed Edmund while the king was unarmed and vulnerable. The reasons for the assassination are unclear, though it is possible that internal political rivalries or the complex dynamics of Edmund's court played a role. Edmund's death at such a young age, he was only around 25, marked a tragic and untimely end to a reign that had faced many challenges. Edmund's death left the throne to his young son, Edred, who would go on to become king. Edred's reign was marked by continued Viking threats in the north and the eventual consolidation of power over the northern territories. The early death of Edmund, however, meant that much of the work of pacifying the northern regions was left to his successor. One of Edmund's most important achievements was the integration of Mercia into his kingdom. His successful incorporation of the Kingdom of Mercia ensured that the political fragmentation of England did not undermine the efforts of his father and his successor. Moreover, his continued efforts to maintain stability in the face of Viking incursions helped prevent a full resurgence of Viking power in the kingdom. Edmund's death, however, did leave England in a fragile position. The Vikings were not fully expelled from the north, and it was not until the reign of Edred that the final pacification of the northern territories would occur. Still, Edmund's efforts laid the groundwork for this eventual success. King Edmund III's reign from 939 to 946 was marked by a combination of external threats and internal challenges. His reign, though short, was significant in the continued consolidation of the English kingdom, and he played a key role in the preservation of Anglo-Saxon power during a time of external conflict with the Vikings and internal fragmentation. Edmund's efforts to secure and stabilize his kingdom in the face of these challenges ensured that the legacy of Aethelstan's unification of England endured, even as the threat from the Vikings persisted. Though Edmund's life was cut short by assassination, his contributions to the preservation of England's unity were crucial, and his legacy paved the way for the continued survival of the Anglo-Saxon state.